Okay, welcome to the first foundational infrastructure meeting of the year. Lots of people. Are there any special reasons, topics, why people are here, or are you all just interested in Bosch? Because otherwise I add them to the agenda, maybe we can discuss them first. Otherwise we go to the board. Nobody?
I mean, it will come to the board, I assume, but I think it probably has already been mentioned, but I wanted to mention again because I saw it already in one of the PRs. So we have in our team Matthias Fach, and he's an approver, but right now he's in a fellowship, so he's away now in the last 3 months and probably for the next 3 to 4 months. But I still see his name being added to review PRs, but I think he's not really checking this anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, the question would be, do you guys have a way to keep
solutions.
track of? Yeah. Okay.
We have approvers, and then we can go here in the settings, and then we have a list of people where code review, and then we can okay, what's his name?
Exactly. Mfach. So yeah, one line after. Exactly.
Done.
Perfect. Thank you.
So then like he just needs to mention when he's back, and then we can get him back in the rotation. But this way we don't have to remove him from the charter and stuff, and he still stays in the teams, but he just does not get stuff assigned to him.
Perfect.
Yeah, we also had something. I also talked with Ramon briefly already regarding the IPv6 use case again, and Alexander is also here, which is good because he has a little more context on the overall setup we want to achieve. So Alexander, do you want to say what the scenario is, or should I?
Sure, I can say a few words. Basically, we would like to enable dual stack on VMs that are deployed via Bosch. And the main issue we've seen now, looking at the code for Bosch agent and for how you define networks in Bosch overall, is that at the moment, you can only support v4 or v6. So it would be possible to just define 2 different networks, but they currently map to 2 different network interfaces. And that changes the setup and layout quite a bit. And a dual stack networking setup with IPv4 and v6 on the same network interface is something pretty common in Linux. So the question is, can we somehow make Bosch do that? And the other question is maybe, does VMware or its customers have any constraints or considerations that they would like to remain as is? And if so, we can then take it from there and maybe use a feature flag or something. But yeah, ultimately, we would like to have dual stack on the VMs, because just using v4 or v6 is not something that will work out for a migration scenario, because all of our landscapes are currently v4. We want to introduce v6, but we can't just turn off v4 and go cold turkey. So we'll need something that supports both for some time at least.
Alexander, maybe to add to this, I already checked the AWS CPI and the Bosch agent and already have 1 PR at least for review for the Bosch agent. Also discussed it with Ramon already regarding the network interfaces. I thought, because that was what I pinged Ramon yesterday for, was that you want to assign like a range of IPv6 addresses to 1 VM.
Right. Yes. Sorry, that's an important part.
Because this easy use case with 1 IP address, I think that would pretty easily work. And yeah, I have coding that makes that possible on AWS at least. But yeah, regarding this range, I think that's
right. So the use case being mostly Diego cells, and the idea is that the Diego VM can then delegate VMs, IP addresses, IPv6 addresses to its containers from a pool that it's been given. So you delegate the prefix to a VM, not just a single address, but say an 80 prefix or a 96 prefix or whatever, still enough that you have plenty of IP address space for the containers and workloads that are running on the Diego cell. But Bosch needs to be able to somehow communicate and delegate that prefix to a single VM. And that's maybe the other question of how we express that in the network.
I think that's like a really nice idea, but I would say that probably should go through an RFC, because I would like to have hear opinions from the networking side, from the Diego side, right? Before we start putting time in making that work on the Bosch side. If they say, oh, but this is never going to work with Diego or whatever, right? I think it's better to have that like cross working group discussion first before we further go down that route. Does that make sense? Like it's easy to explain what you want, right? And that could go in an RFC, and then we have a good place to have that discussion and loop in all the like Amelia and her team.
Yes. Okay. And then our colleagues that are doing the Diego stuff from SAP side, they've experimented with things already, and they can maybe chime in and confirm the things that work for them already.
So then we can at least like have the whole discussion there, approve it, and then that makes it also easier to justify making changes to Bosch, right?
Sure.
Because then we can say we're doing this because of the RFC.
I think all the precursors to that, though, having multiple IPs for a given VM, IPv6 and IPv4, or maybe multiple of either. Like, I don't know if Bosch should really care about that. Like, that sounds like a non-breaking change. Like right now you can have multiple interfaces, but like having multiple IPs presumably wouldn't stop you from having multiple interfaces. So it sounds from my very 5-minute introduction to it like just an additive change that doesn't seem like you'd even need a feature flag for it. It's like, oh yeah, I configured the VM with multiple IPs, so Bosch is going to give it multiple IPs, and that's not something that's going to cause problems to anybody else.
So the one minor wrinkle in that is that at the moment each network you define in Bosch, Felix, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that will create a new network interface card on the VM. And what we're talking about is adding two kind of networks, so V4 and V6, that actually end up on the same subnet in a hyperscaler on the same network interface card.
Yeah, that depends on the implementation in the CPI. So currently, AWS, like for example, if we take AWS as an example, AWS only has the option for one network interface card. So it will always only use one network, and there can only be one IP attached, so to say. There cannot be multiple interface cards, and I have just created a pull request that would enable dual stack for this single network interface card. And
so there might need to be some feature flagging of that, or option I want this or that, either in the director or the CPI. Maybe it goes in cloud properties. I don't know, but like there's a lot of ways of configuring stuff.
Yeah, something like that.
And that seems like a trivial enough change or a feature flag that we can definitely retain the previous behavior without messing anything up for anybody and keep that the default. And SAP then goes with that special behavior. And maybe in the future we'll realize, oh, this is actually great, and we eventually change the default or whatever. I don't know. This is up for future people to discuss.
Yeah, the only situation I know where I've ever seen multiple network interfaces on a single VM. Well, I don't even know if it's on a single VM, but like when you're doing AWS and you need like a VIP IP or something, VIP network in addition to the regular network. I don't know how that plays into it, but something to consider. That's, I think I don't know. I don't know when the last time I saw one of those was. I don't know if that's common or not.
Yeah.
It could be.
VIP doesn't create an additional network interface, does it?
I thought it is in the manifest, at least. It doesn't on the VM. No. I don't know. Actually, I don't know how it is on the VM, but in the manifest.
So you define different networks in the manifest, but on the VM it's just like in front of, or like, I don't know, it hangs in front of the physical. It's mapped somewhere in the cloud, right? Like it comes in on that IP address, and then it's like translated into the local IP address.
Right. So if that doesn't even touch the VM, I mean, we just need to make sure that like whatever this new thing is doesn't impact that, so that use case still works. But that seems like that should be presumably easy.
Yes, so we usually use manual networks, and as I imagine it to be, if someone specifies two manual networks with the same, referring to the same subnet ID, that in that case we want to do dual stack, but I don't know. Maybe it's better to have a feature flag. That was just a first idea. Yeah.
And then very far down the line, but because it's sort of contingent upon what goes on in that RFC, but like need some way for Diego to learn what the IP prefix or whatnot is. So we might need template rendering, a new property exposed or modified in the spec dot whatever stuff that are exposed to templates, so Diego can know what the IPs are without, or it goes
You
on the
already
VM.
get the address, right? You can already get the address.
But I don't know what that looks like if there's a range.
Yeah,
it's basically metadata on the network interface itself. So you can query the operating system and say, hey, what IP addresses do I have? And for the V6, it would then,
We're talking about there's spec properties, BOSH templates.
Right. You could have BOSH query the network interface, but like it feels more appropriate. Like BOSH, sorry, you can have Diego query the VM, but like it feels more appropriate. Like BOSH has this info. We're deploying a Diego job. Like we should be able to pass that info to them.
Sure. Okay.
And like you have spec.address currently, which is IP4 or IPv6. So currently you can get that, but like it seems appropriate that like something in here would expose that prefix or in some way. Yeah, maybe. I guess networks. Well,
but then you get just one IP. Like it's not.
Well, but the networks is going to have to change if they have a prefix in there anyway. So it might just be an additional property in there.
Yeah.
So if you extend this to just be a list instead of a single address, to put it into a list, that the entries could be CIDRs. So it could be either IP addresses or CIDRs with the slash and then mask behind. And that would actually solve everything that we need. It's not that we have disparate ranges. It's one range with a prefix basically, or with a net mask, and that's it.
Right. Something to think about.
How are you going to arrange this? Like with for Diego, instance group has 10 VMs with all these IPs. Who is going to arrange where is going what? Who is at some point
who's handing out? Yeah, because you basically you don't want to manage these network. You're gonna use dynamic networking, or like how are you gonna say that an instance group needs to have like a prefix assigned to it, right? You basically want a prefix from a range.
It wouldn't be an instance group. It would be the individual instances that each get a prefix.
In the instance group. Yeah, sure. But you need to say how big.
But a manifest only deals with an instance group, and if it's got 100 things in it, how do you say like each of those VMs needs to have like you can't really say like this VM should have this range, this VM should have this range. You have to say that like each of the VMs in this instance group need X number of addresses, or this partition of a CIDR. Yeah. So I guess that would be
something part of the RFC.
Yeah, I think it will be a little bit more complicated than we think in the first place, but it's possible.
Very
likely. The first half, I'm like, that's easy, very clear, and then you get to the Diego part, you're like, oh, there's a lot of speed bumps.
Yeah, the Diego part is the most important driver for this whole thing.
Right.
And how does it work, like with dual stack, right? Because every app can have its own. So basically, the idea is that every app can have its own addressable IPv6 address, right?
Yes, but it will still retain an IPv4 via the Silk overlay network. So each container will then have two addresses also. It will have a Silk 172, whatever the address is. I really don't remember. And that is not publicly routable. That is just via the Silk network. But it would also have a potential, depending on the hyperscaler or whatever environment you have, potentially a publicly routable address. It's not meant to actually talk to the container directly, of course. That would be prohibited by firewall rules. But when it's calling out, you know who called out. Because right now, for example, on AWS or any hyperscaler, we have the scenario that whenever a container calls out, it eventually goes through a NAT gateway if, say, it goes somewhere. So the origin IP address is the NAT gateways. The one that the client then sees is the NAT gateway. So you don't really see which container called, and you need to go through a ton of logs to maybe see the mapping of Diego cell port to the actual VM port and whatever else. There's like 7 layers of interaction. It's actually 3, but you know what I mean.
7
Feels like
better.
7.
Yeah. And IPv6 direct addressing would then just show you the IPv6 address of the container, and in your log you see who was calling. And if they misbehave, for example, again, we are running a shared platform where a lot of people are running stuff, and it's not something that is purely collaborative. So you need to make sure that people don't go above bounds. You want to see who's misbehaving potentially, and that just makes it easier.
But if they want to misbehave, they should just be using IPv4.
Yes, and right now, yes, absolutely. The final goal is that eventually we would move more and more to IPv6, but this whole thing now comes up because we need some migration path, because again, we cannot just cold turkey switch over or just say, okay, when we make new environments that are v6 only, that's not gonna work for us, unfortunately.
But for the foundation, we need to then set up a whole IPv6 testing ground again, because we are not testing IPv6 for.
Yeah, we ripped that out in many places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
But it is also 2025 now, and maybe we should consider IPv6.
Yeah.
Didn't we say that in 2015?
It comes in waves, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes someone gets really excited about IPv6, then we start doing some work again, and then sometimes it goes away again.
Now it's the US government that got excited, and I think other people might have to become excited also.
But also they are changing their government or their president, so maybe they will change their direction soon.
You think that they say, no, screw IPv6, IPv4 also works?
I'm pretty sure we got away from the government requirements at one point by just being like, all right, is IPv6 from the router outward, but inside, don't worry about that. They were like, sure.
Right. But the thing is that we have one of the products is called the integration suite that is actually doing a lot of calling out to other services, and those targets might be IPv6 also.
I still need to wrap my head around the benefits of IPv6 versus the whole IPv4 with all the VPC stuff that we now have. This needs to click in my head somewhere at some point. But
that's why we're gonna get an RFC, and it all click.
Well, I might not fully explain and convince you of IPv6's benefits. Maybe I'll have somebody, one of our IPv6 advocates, write something up.
Nobody's ever mad after the work is done.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, man, I'm so mad that there's IPv6 support in here now.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a good conversation. Shall we go over the board?
Thank you very much. I'm out. I have to leave.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
This we can skip for now. I did not have time to put in the comments from Joseph last time.
Is someone going to review this?
People were on vacation.
I'll ping Kenneth though. I might also take a look at it. I've got time to look at open source these days. And I went over this a lot with Ramon already, so I have some context.
Was that what I tested, Ramon?
Yes.
Okay.
I hear another volunteer.
Yeah, but I'm only reviewer, I think.
Not approval yet.
I'm not approval.
Oh, Oh no, okay, but then this is a good.
He should be
You
at some
should
point.
say something, add something, because then you ranked up the credits to become an approver. Leaving a review still counts as a.
Yeah, I did.
Let me review. Okay.
Yeah, this is for the IPv6 stuff.
Yeah, I briefly looked over it, but I didn't understand. You're just removing a bunch of tests, right?
Yeah, there's an error that sort of blocks this use case, but
I see.
doesn't provide any
see.
value currently.
Yeah, the number of networks is, yes, I see. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's for the stem cell builder. Basically, we can already add it because it doesn't do anything as long as the other.
Until the other one is merged, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but we can already merge it because
Yeah.
it doesn't do anything.
Do we want some? I don't know. Do we want some unit tests or something for this, or how are we gonna?
There are no unit tests at all with this.
There are unit tests for, not for stages, right?
No, not for the JSON agents and these kind of things.
And if there were, they would just be testing that the string equals the string.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to evaluate. Yeah.
The only thing we
I
can
want
do
to document the patterns that we're matching, right? Like, because this is currently like, yeah, sure, but what are we trying to do? And like, if it changes over time, it's hard to, because you did all this research, right?
Yeah.
On what these pods look like, and with this change, we're basically losing a lot of that information, that context. But maybe just a README in this directory or something, because it's JSON, right? So you cannot add comments.
What are you talking about? Just comments. String.
Sure.
You want to read me in there for okay.
I
there
read
was
it. Yeah,
already README, but
you
I
already
think-
did all the research, so it would be nice that we can keep that somewhere close to this, so that once, like, if something changes, that we can know that it changed, right? It looked like this in the past, and then now the paths are different, so we have a bit of confidence in, oh, okay, it's fine to change the regex.
No problem. I will add something.
Does the repo have wiki enabled? Not that anybody would find it there, but you know, they're
they will
equally
find it
unlikely to
later.
find it in a README.
No, but like if you just put a file alongside this agent JSON.
Yeah, I would put just agent.md or something, and then people will understand, like, okay.
Or like
well, but there's like 5 agent JSONs in 5 different folders.
Yeah, but that's fine. Like, you will be looking at one of these, right? And then it's like, oh, what's this guy? I don't know. Just
put it in one Ramon and then symlink it to the others.
Yeah.
No, but you can document it for each IS, right? It's specific to the IS.
I will do that. I will do for each thing. I will.
Yeah, and do some sort of like disk ID whatever mapping
will transform
file.
this into this. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I already have that in.
You have that information, right? So why not put it here? I think that would be useful in the future.
Also, to document this as feature in Bosch, like how the agent is discovering disks and a little bit. So
I don't know how much Bosch.io talks about agent interactions. Like it seems like a good set of docs to have somewhere, but I don't even know if we have anything
there's
currently.
Agent location docs. They are talking about the different location agent, but yeah, just an idea.
Problem is
really low level.
I would just say from this is the disk it will receive, and this is the transform pattern, and we'll just do like this is the reghack magic that will go. It will go from this to this, and I already had that information, so it's easy copy paste for me. I will just put it in there today.
Okay, thanks. So we're putting this in changes requested or something.
There is a section for agent CPI interactions in the Bosch.io. Maybe it could be there.
It's not the CPI, right? This is the like it's behavior of the agent itself during Bootstrap.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a name. It says agent settings and it describes what's in the agent.json file.
Yeah, but it should not be in Bosch.io anyways, because it's not for people.
Well, there's in-depth topics. I mean, there's a bunch of docs there around, like the flow of data between Bosch and the agent and or this Bosch and the CPI and the agent, where it uses CloudStack as the example. It's interesting. And then, I mean, it's, I can look at that and see if there's somewhere to put it in there. Because we have the settings JSON documented in there. That's something people don't need. We might as well. Oh yeah, we already have agent.json. Yeah.
Well, did you find something?
Well, everybody else found something. I just clicked on it. It's in the chat.
And I'm sharing my screen, so I cannot see the chat.
Want me to recite the URL for you?
Yeah. Can you send the QR codes? I can scan?
Hold it up.
Yeah. I see. Yeah.
I don't know how much of this is true anymore, but like, yeah, we could make it more true.
This would not be a bad place for that.
I can almost guarantee the settings JSON is a lie in here, based upon every time I've looked at that file and see all the data in duplicate locations.
Yeah, this is old.
But it could be new.
It could
CloudStack.
CloudStack? What?
Up the diagram right above.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit dated, this thing.
Oh no, there's a registry.
We still have registry stuff in our current stem cell agent JSONs.
Yes, but it doesn't. All the CPIs have ripped out all the registry code.
I know, but it's still in the JSON that we feed into the agent currently. We should remove it. I put out an issue that we need to remove it at some point to clean stuff up and maybe see if we can clean more stuff up.
Okay. We have this one.
I'm out. I'm not going to look at utils.
Utils is the most important repo, as Ruben discovered when he broke everything.
It breaks everything.
I know,
Okay.
everyone.
Every time you touch it,
there just breaks.
You go in there, you think, oh, this is easy. This seems to be like sane. And then you change the thing and everything breaks. It's like this load-bearing repo, basically.
It's the thing from the XKCD.
Yeah. Wow. And that's a lot of nerve, changing everything in a load-bearing repo.
Luckily, it's only for fakes, so.
Yeah. Okay. Someone needs to look at that. What's the... I assigned people. Did it work? No, my internet doesn't work.
No, my GitHub is also very, very slow already since like a few days.
Okay. Pending review. Oh wait, I did that. Oh, it said these people are already assigned. It was
Yeah,
smart.
I only haven't seen Benjamin for a very long time, and Ansh also not. So. Not sure if they.
But how do I get it to do its magic again? That worked. Pending review. Okay.
Felix, is Ansh still on?
Yeah, he's still part of the team. Yeah, we
Okay.
can tell him to look at it.
Well, just got reassigned.
Ruben, hey, this is Sascha. I posted another pull request into the chat. It's a draft. Maybe we could also have a look over together.
Yes.
You guys don't know me yet. You guys don't know me yet. I'm pretty new in the team of Felix and Ahmed. Recently joined, and happy to look forward to work with you.
Okay. Welcome.
Yeah, the pull request is in the chat. It's a draft one. Exactly this one. If you go to file changed, I quickly give you an idea, and I would like to discuss if you are okay with this procedure or if you would like to handle the problem differently. So what we did, we introduced a new flag for the Bosch deploy command. The flag is called skip download releases. And the effect is when you say Bosch -e Bosch, any kind of deployment with this flag, the releases of the corresponding deployments are not being re-downloaded or are not being forwarded to upload releases. Yeah. Why did we do that? We are having the following situation for Azure China. We are having not an internet connection. We are providing the releases via the upload nexus action. But the problem is via upload nexus, we provide compiled releases, and doing Bosch deploy, the releases will be re-downloaded, which is causing problems because the re-download is working over the internet, and we want to prevent any internet need.
So
I
in
hope
this,
I was more or less clear. Yeah.
In this case, the releases are specified as URLs in the manifest.
Yes, they are, I think. Yeah.
Because that's the only case I think but even then, when normally the CLI, I thought the CLI will check the director to see if it already has that version.
Yeah, based on the version, right? So if there's a version and a name.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
It does the following things. So it goes from the deployment to the upload release Go file. And in upload release, it checks for two things. Release has source and release has compiled package. It would go into release has compiled package branch if a stem cell is provided, which is not the case. The stem cell was not provided, only the compiled releases are there. And without a stem cell, it goes to the release has a source branch, and there it doesn't find a source release because they're only compiled releases, and it's re-downloading them.
Is there a reason why you wouldn't want to just put the
stem cell there?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, the following thing. We call Bosch deploy, and currently we don't have a stem cell at Bosch deploy there. So we can't add for Bosch deploy a stem cell minus stem cell.
That's for create env then, right? That logic is only for create env. Because with create env you have a stem cell and releases. right? You would deploy.
Yeah.
There is an option to
Yeah.
specify against the stem cell, but we have the manifest for all for all the deployments I used across all the hyperscalers, and only for this one landscape that has no internet access, we need to use compiled releases. So therefore, we don't put the stem cell version in the manifest, but we want to make sure that Bosch then does not re-download a release because it will fail because it's not connected to the internet. So that's why we want to skip this downloading, and we discussed a lot about this in the team, if we should add this stem cell version here. But that also faced some challenges because usually we don't use compile releases only on this one landscape. So in the end,
Can you
we
not
ended up
just remove all
making-
the URLs from
Well,
the
hold
releases?
on, Ruben. Can you open the thing I just put in chat? It's a CF deployment ops file.
I already told you I don't like opening things in chat.
I know, that's why I had to call you out.
Thank you.
So like in CF deployment, like when it's used compiled releases, it's like it specifies the URL and the stem cell all in one ops file.
exactly.
So like somewhere you must be putting in the URL for these one to point to the compiled releases. Like within that same place, you just put in the stem cell and then everything just magically works, I think.
The only issue there is that means we have to update for all deployments of Bosch and only for this landscape. And it's also redundant information that you have the stem cell while we have it centrally. So it's for all landscape except for this one, we will have to do a whole new, let's say, process.
But aren't you having to do that anyway for the URLs for the only this one landscape?
Yes, exactly. There's an action that takes this this release and uploads the compiled release only for this landscape previously.
I see.
But
so the manifest is this. Wait.
The manifest
does
is the same exactly as for other landscapes, but just the releases we upload are compiled releases instead of Bosch will upload normal releases.
So the URL in the manifest isn't the actual compiled release
Exactly.
URL.
Exactly.
Okay.
Shouldn't you just?
And so it
remove
would kind of also be
URL
wrong to
from
put
the
stem cell in
manifest?
there. Sorry.
Shouldn't you just use, I don't know, YTT to remove all the URLs from the templates before deploying?
I mean, that's what I do sometimes. Although in
Yeah.
honesty, like sometimes I wish I had this flag because, I'm like doing a deploy and I've got this manifest that was generated by somebody else. I'm just like, oh yeah, redeploy this. And it's like, I'm downloading I'm like checking to see if these URLs are different or something. And they're like, please stop doing that. And then I have to go in and delete all the URLs out of the manifest manually. So if there's a flag, it would, yeah.
Okay.
I think that this is a better solution, but if, this is like, your process doesn't fit with this flag doesn't seem harmful. Seems pretty low barrier. Nobody's going to accidentally call this flag and make a mistake.
And it
Exactly.
might
Yeah.
be
It will.
some edge cases, right, for other people like Joseph
Yeah.
someday.
I forget when I'm in the situation, but I know I'm angry about it sometimes.
And then the next time you're feeling the anger boil up, you find this flag and it's instant joy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm convinced now.
Do we also need to make update Bosch docs for Bosch.io for this?
We could.
Yeah, we can update it.
I planned it anyway. Yeah, I plan to update it. Yeah.
Sure. It seems like an edge case, but probably sane.
This is not the PR, by the way.
No,
Oh wait,
different PR.
no, this is a different one.
But feel free to improve.
Oh, it's the yes, prevent.
This one.
This one, yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we say use compiled releases somehow? Do we want to say skip download? I was thinking.
No, but it is about skipping. It doesn't matter if they are compiled or not, right?
It's
You could
basically
also
like
have source releases uploaded.
Yeah.
It's like ignore the releases. I don't know.
Yeah, we would just do it we would just do it for this edge case. We would just use this flag for those edge cases.
Yeah.
I have a slightly related but unimportant question. Why are you only using source releases everywhere else, but compiled releases for this one environment? Is that just because spinning up?
Yeah, the thing is, when you use a source release and then during Bosch deploy, you compile them, there might, so if I understood, it's not 100% sure, but there might be a need of an internet connection. And then we have again the problem, okay, we require for the compiling internet connection, we don't have.
So there shouldn't be, unless you're bringing your own Bosch release, but like everything that the foundation makes should be internetless in packaging, because we definitely have a lot of customers that are in air-gapped environments, and like, I mean, we often ship them compiled releases, but yeah. If there's a release that's connecting to the internet during packaging, it needs to stop that.
The better question is, if you're deploying multiple environments, why are you not using compiled releases everywhere?
That's true. That's also a better direction to go. But also releases shouldn't talk to the internet.
Yes.
But anyway.
So it
Felix
seems, yes, we have releases that talk to the internet. At least that's how it seems, because that was also my first idea. Why don't we just use source releases? But it seems we have releases that talk to the internet. And regarding
one's maintained internally by SAP, or like public Cloud Foundry part of CF deployment ones?
That I did not check, but I think it was downloading gems or something when doing bundle install, or could that be? I'm not sure.
But we have a mixture, right? We have a mixture of SDP ones and Bosch ones.
Yeah, but I'm not sure for which release it was.
I mean,
at least someone checked it. I did not check it.
At least I know for Dynatrace release that it's Dynatrace needs the agent. It's
But again, it's not only our director, so it's not we don't have really that under control, right? It's the deployments of Bosch. Whoever is using us is then have to take care of, which is, I guess, what this flag will just take care of. So yeah. So it's not our code base, I would say. That's the issue.
Okay. A lot of stuff that we opened now. Wait, what? Is that a new one? 35 minutes ago, and the
that was fast. Felix?
Yeah, that was just what we mentioned earlier. Just created this. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's a good approach or not.
It's up to the reviewers to figure that out.
Yep.
Fingers crossed, everybody. It's not us.
So we discussed the thing, and then you had AI make the listen.
No, it was already there. I just had to, yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Not us.
Okay.
There was a PR I was going to talk about, but then people reviewed it without being prompted, and then somebody merged it without being prompted, so it's gone now. But it was to the Bosch director. Beyhan, you I think took a look at it. I don't even think did you even make it to the board?
Is it done? Maybe is it the Postgres thing or what?
No, it was the recreate leaves all jobs stopped. Is like the most recent. Yeah, closed one. Yes, fix a bug where the VM ends up in a state where it does not have rendered templates archive in the spec JSON, which is a fun. So you deploy a VM and then you deploy it again without changing anything. And that's like, that changes the world, which is upsetting because it doesn't do anything, but the Bosch director actually changes its database and removes this rendered templates JSON field from the spec JSON it has in its database. And then if you then restart the VM, Bosch restart or Bosch stop start, it basically does a deploy and it gives it that new spec JSON that's missing that field. And then the agent's like, I shouldn't run any jobs because I don't have templates. So we looked at this for a couple of years now because we didn't know what was causing it. But so this change now makes it so that the rendered templates archive is always persisted to the database, which is weird. I'll explain why in a second. But then also when it is doing so the reason why it was getting removed from the spec JSON is that it does, even if you're doing a deploy and it's not doing anything, it generates the spec JSON from scratch every time from the manifest. And since it's like no changes have happened, I'm not going to bother rendering templates. The template archive just doesn't become part of that. And so it then saves that to the database anyway, for various reasons, solving other problems from years ago, apparently. And then it removes that field from the spec JSON in the database. And then eventually, if you're doing a restart action on the VM, that doesn't do a full deploy and it ends up breaking the VM. Now, the weird, so this all seems like a fine fix, except for there's some slight weirdness where, so there's a table in the Bosch database called render templates archive that always the template archive went into. We never pulled it out of there, which we do now, and then that gets overwritten if you actually render templates with a fresh one. But we never actually pulled it out of there, so we're doing that now. The strange part is we're putting stuff in there, and we're putting stuff in there in all use cases. So there's two use cases. There's where you actually put templates into an archive and put it in the blob store, and then the VM pulls it down from the blob store. That's sort of the standard one you'd think of, but the Bosch director can be configured to instead stream templates over the NATS messaging bus, where you don't ever make a blob. It never goes in the blob store. So in that case, we're still putting it in a rendered templates archive table now, which it didn't before. It gets cleaned up when the VM gets deleted and everything, but it's sort of weird because it's in there. It's got a blob store ID, but it's not in the blob store. Adding the blob store ID was not part of this. It always had a blob store ID, which makes absolutely no sense because it's never in the blob store, but it's just sort of this like kludge to like make it all work. So like if you go look at a VM that's been deployed using templates sent over the NATS messaging bus, it's got this rendered templates archive and it's got a blob store ID in there with just a GUID that doesn't match anything in the blob store. That's always been true. So we didn't feel too bad about also putting it in the database and keeping it around so that we could reproduce the weird state in this situation.
It's a lot of context for.
It is. That's why it took us 2 years to fix it.
So, okay.
We spent a week, we're like, we could fix this on the agent side. And we're like, we can't fix it on the agent side. And then we tried fixing it in other ways on the director side.
Yeah, so the actual fix is these lines, right? That's all.
Yeah, so the second change there, make sure it persists in the top line, make sure that it pulls it out and seeds it into the new deployment plan for the VM. Yeah.
Didn't even know about this problem.
Right? We didn't know about it either. The customers were like, hey, this keeps happening. We Bosch restart a VM and then all the jobs, it succeeds and then there's no jobs running on the VM. I'm like, you're crazy. That's impossible.
I also recall tickets and trying to reproduce, but never could reproduce this.
Right. That's because there's this stupid second step where it's like, do the deploy again, but don't change anything, which finishes immediately. And you're like, it didn't do anything, but it changes the database slightly. So I don't anticipate this breaking anything. All my tests were fine with it, but this is a change that will be in the next
all
release.
the tests were also fine with the situation before, right?
Yes, right. I decided not to add a Bosch acceptance test that does this 3-step nonsense.
Twice. Just deploy it twice, see if things change.
Who was it who introduced the no converge again?
I don't know. But it's a really good feature flag, but it's really badly named. And people don't know when to use. They're like, I'll just always no converge. And it's like, don't always no converge. Know what it does, which I don't. And know when you're supposed to use it.
So maybe we should add an extra, like, are you sure using no converge? Maybe.
I think there's warnings in there now.
Yeah.
We had we had kind of also a bug regarding the templates where Bosch was merging the pre-start scripts together for different jobs. Like
that was Ruben's fault. That was to do
is
with.
Is that no issue or?
I think it's fixed now. I think that was
Well,
a problem in the agent because the agent got shipped with. Was that in the agent? It had to do with
What the agent?
changing the Bosch utils tar.
Wasn't it the Bosch CLI that the agent compile stuff in the Bosch CLI that people started noticing it on?
No, wait. Was this on Windows VMs?
No, sorry.
No.
This
Oh.
was, no.
Okay, maybe that's something else. I know we saw on Windows VMs when they were deployed with an agent built with the new Bosch utils that had the new tar functionality, that one job would be running the pre-start for a different job, which was kind of bad and kind of surprising.
Yeah,
But
it's
that code never made it into a Linux stem cell, I don't think. So that might be something different that we don't know about.
okay. Yeah, it was kind of weird because it was like looking for the names like we have for the Bosch DNS aliases. There's a aliases job, I think, or something, and it was just named the same as for the Bosch DNS release, so not the Bosch DNS aliases release. And somehow, maybe because the files were named the same in the spec file, I don't know, and it merged the pre-start scripts together. And I thought I'd just ask if something is known or if it was something special after, I don't know, recreating a few times, and it was suddenly working again. But then I will look into it again. Try to reproduce it.
This one make my day the day after the 2 days ago.
I was thinking, oh, doesn't this person know about Bosch All Proxy? And I was like, oh, what? This is about a dishwasher. Okay. Nice.
Wait, what? I'm so confused. They think the Bosch CLI is for connecting to their appliances.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at Bosch with CH on Bosch.
Oh no.
For a couple of weeks. That was really annoying. Yeah, that was for like the registry is still in the agent JSON, and there's probably some other stuff that should be cleaned up.
There's no link in here, so I don't. I mean, I tried to click this, but it doesn't work.
Discussing things with my girlfriend, the same thing. I don't have the immediate thing to go there. Dude.
You want to make me do work? Find this thing that you're talking about. Okay, sure. Wasn't there? What was that? Was that the registry where we had to do multiple steps with removing it from the, or was that the?
Probably.
There was the CPIs that all needed to change, and otherwise it would break. I don't know if this is like the last step of that, or was that not registry related?
No, that sounds right. I mean, we've stopped allowing you to deploy the registry in Bosch deployment. I don't. Does the director still have the registry job in the release? Maybe we should delete that if it's still there.
We can just do it. We can just clean it up for Noble, because once you're on Noble, you're not using an old school Bosch director. Probably.
Yeah, but we're not building an agent specifically for Noble, right?
But also Jammy. Like there's been no CPI that still requires the registry, and since Jammy has been a thing.
Yeah. But even Bionic, I think.
Yeah. Possibly even Xenial. Like Xenial was not.
Yeah, Xenial was supported too long, so that's probably had some edge cases.
No, but I think that Xenial didn't even really. There was no usage of the registry during Xenial's lifespan, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
All IaaSes use, the metadata stores from their IaaS or a CD-ROM. Thanks, vSphere. To get the data. That used to be what the registry was. It was like the VM would start, it would have registry credentials, those were actually sent. So the upsetting part was the registry credentials were sent the way we send all the credentials now. They were like in the metadata store of the CD-ROM, and then the VM would go to the registry and get all the agent or the settings JSON, because I guess we thought that those places didn't have enough space, or I don't know. I don't know why we did it. Built it that. I don't know why we built a registry ever.
Sounded probably like a good idea back in the days.
I mean, if you're going to put credentials in there to talk to the registry, get all the other credentials, why not just put all the credentials in there?
That's true.
But sure.
Yeah, and there's probably some other stuff that maybe can clean up or not. I don't know. I see sometimes things in the agent JSON, and I think like, should that even be there?
Yeah, I mean the director has had the registry removed for a couple of years now. As far as I know, we warned IBM because they were the last CPI that like didn't support that required the registry, and we're like, we're gonna break you, and they were like, whatever, we don't care. So if the director doesn't support the register anymore, I don't think the agent needs to.
Makes sense. Open for contribution.
Yeah, shortly out of time, I just wanted to mention that there is a new view on our dashboard, promotions.
Oh, here?
Yeah, on the third one.
Oh, there.
Yes, basically, I made just available all the pending promotions for our working group. So there are some waiting for merge. I didn't merge them. Just this one is not yet ready, but
yeah, this is probably another case of needing to publish membership in the Pivotal org.
Most probably. Yeah.
But what do you mean with promotion, Beyhan? Is it for like promotion to approver and that kind of stuff, or?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was something with I don't know. I will post that.
You had Pivotal.
Pivotal CF, right? That was it. Orgs, Pivotal CF.
It's a team. I think you have to be a part of a team.
Yeah, it's private. So
yeah,
it's every time someone from CF or from Broadcom tries to become a member or an approver.
Yeah, we have also similar issues. We have the same approach on at SAP.
Wait, what? That's why the CLA doesn't work? It's if you
Yes.
have a private membership to the Pivotal CF?
Yeah.
That's the provenance?
Yes.
Why didn't somebody tell me this like 3 years ago? I thought it was like by email address or something.
Maybe at this point, we should document this somewhere.
This is the first I've ever heard of it.
It's something I probably every other week I have to tell someone that they need to do.
Yeah, we have documented at least for us.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know whether it's a common for the foundation.
Yeah, the problem is like there's no central place where people go when they onboard onto CF, right? It's just all sorts of teams and they come here and then because I have not worked with this person, right? So so maybe it would be nice in our onboarding docs in open source to have something about like if you're a person from SAP, if you're a person from Broadcom, I don't know, make sure check this thing. I don't know. something to discuss at the TSC, I guess, meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all. We're out of time.
Yep.
See you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you guys.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.